here. What's up, Jolyn? You got me. You got me. You got me this time. But you know what? Definitely on that E flat. Really? Like you were going for like the G7 chord or? Okay. Well, whatever it is that you think that you nailed, you got it. Just like shout outs to Jalen today, you got it too. And what's up, cousins? I am Mark Monroe, accompanied by my wonderful co-host, co-producer, co-creator, all things galactic and all things today looking quite spiffy over there. The wonderful it's Thursday. Indeed. We'll get to that really quickly. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. And on top of that, hit that like button because we would totally appreciate it for your awesomeness and your existence. And of course, the other cousins out there also. Wait, can they hear me?
They can't hear me. They're saying there's no sound.
All right, well, let's do it again. Let's roll that back real quick.
Ah, that's so annoying.
Well, the wonderful
microphone check 1 2 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Because I'm not saying my totally if you can't hear me.
They can hear you. They can hear you.
I'm still getting can't hears over here. So you're getting okay, we good now. All right.
Yes.
All right. I'm not even in the mood to say totally. Y'all missed it.
What? She hit me with it. She hit me with it. All right, y'all. So you know who we are. You know who she is because she's awesome. And on top of that, you know what we're about to bring today. Today is all about health. But before we get into that, like I said, if you like, subscribe, and on top of that, hit that bell so that way you could be like Jalen, who was first in the chat. So we thank you, Jalen, for being awesome and being first. And on top of that, Jolyn, we got to get into these markets because we want to get that. We want to talk about that really quick, and then we want to get to this other conversation.
Yes, we have a really big conversation. So anyway, what does it, cousin? It's jolyngc and the place to be. Totally. You guys got 2 in 1 episode. That is amazing.
That is great.
All right. So the Dow was coming in at 239.79 points. The S&P 500 was 44.74 points. And we got the NASDAQ coming in at 212.28 points. So yeah, that's interesting. We'll talk more about that. Hopefully we get to some of that. And we have the VIX coming in at 16.53%. It went up from the last time we were here on Tuesday. So that's interesting as well. Heading over to sector performance. And before I get into sector performance, let the record reflect that the 10-year Treasury note mark came down a little bit. Now it's at 1.571%. So things are getting interesting. We got sector performance. Yeah, even if you look at sector performance, we got some action going on. So as you know, we tracked all the sectors, but we really look for the top 3 and the bottom 3 so we can see what that rotation is looking like. We got real estate, consumer discretionary, industrials holding it down for the top 3, and the bottom 3 would be utilities, consumer staples, and communication services. So, you know, tech is somewhere floating in the middle because we had some earnings misses. AKA there were some companies that dropped the beat and not in a good way. And then we have some of those companies that, you know, did their thing. So we'll talk about that. And then we got pick performance. You can find all of our picks on our Instagram page at That Come Up Series. And the top 3, we have Lucid, Snap, and Caterpillar. And then we have the bottom 3 would be DraftKings, Visa, and Twilio. So first of all, shout out to Tesla. And I do want to shout out SMH just because, just off GP. You know, they're getting there. They're getting there. They're doing their thing. We you know, we've been through our ups and downs, and we're thinking about making it official
Are y'all
again.
good? Are y'all good?
We're good, but you know, right? You know how you have to like work some things out in private before you can be all out there in public. So
okay,
that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. But it's nice to see Snap with a snapback, you know, because last time
it wasn't
I
looking
mean,
good.
it's working its way up, but you know, it was up by almost 4.5%.
Yes.
Let me shout out Lucid, because Lucid was up by 31.31% in one day.
They are
Now,
finally delivering vehicles.
okay,
Yes.
not much. So that's doing it. Oh my. And then
And I
we
have to
have
give an
Caterpillar.
honorable mention to Ford, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Yeah.
give them a
Well,
golf clap. Yes.
you know, Wall Street, the street, they're saying that Ford can still go up by 10% more. So that's interesting. But you know, I'm still over here trying to true to Tesla. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll mind the business that pays us. Okay. So anyway, Mark, that was what happened in the market today. We basically had earnings, we had, you know, ups and downs, and it's totally reflecting in the market. And
Correct.
this is a reminder right now to check institutional holdings.
Correct.
Go to, what was it, Well Watch?
Well Wisdom, you can check
Well
that.
Wisdom.
And on top of that, you
Yeah.
can go to your brokerage and also see what the institutional holdings is, like what the
Yes.
institutional ownership is on the stock.
Do that now. And the reason why is because we are seeing some rotation. Now, the vibe was very different in the summer compared to now. There's a reason for that. So you want to look and see where the institutions are placing their money and where they are, you know, really making significant purchases. So just look at that, stay on top of that. You kind of want to do that every quarter, just regularly, so you can see how things are flowing. So with that, Mark, let's get into today. I will say that I put the post out late for the questions because I wasn't going to even ask for any questions, but if we have time, there may be some questions that come through. But again, I put the post out super late because I really wasn't anticipating that we would have time because we have such really special announcement. So,
we do.
You know, yeah.
Okay, so to knock out some of the media stuff real quick because we're about to have quite an intro that's coming through pretty soon. But for those of you that like are kind of coming off the stock market wave of things, especially of what's been taking place in the aftermarket, so Apple and Amazon both reported their earnings, and for the first time since 2017, Apple missed on revenue, and for the second quarter in a row, Amazon missed on revenue. And it's very indicative of the times as it pertains to demand. So demand is very high, but yet at the same token, the supply side just isn't quite there yet. I mean, we've been dealing with supply chain issues throughout the year, and it's amazing how a lot of these companies have been able to flourish moving forward. But, I mean, at the same token, you're seeing that the stocks are ultimately taking somewhat of a slight pullback breather. It's nothing really ridiculous like we've seen in other companies where they pull back by 10%. I think these companies probably pulled back by maybe 3.5%, 4%, which is actually pretty healthy and pretty good. But all in all, I think that they're looking pretty good, and I think that with Amazon, I think that their biggest issue was that they missed on earnings, they missed on EPS, and on top of that, it was just the fact that hey, we realize that there's going to be some issues, especially on the retail side of things. But be mindful and looking at how AWS revenue just came through pretty big, especially with all the essential costs that came through on CapEx spending and operating expenses for Amazon. So looking forward, I think that they may have another quarter where they may have a little bit of, say, for example, choppiness like this. But in moving forward, I think that Amazon will be okay. Apple, on the other hand, I think, again, they're just fine. It's just the fact is, what do you do if we're looking at it on a startup side or any other company? If you have that much high demand, but you can't meet the demand, it doesn't mean that your customers are going anywhere. It just means that you're pretty much going to have to expand your volume and pretty much spread it out over the quarter or over the set of months. So, I mean, ultimately, they missed. Both of them missed. We probably may see a slight little pullback on the S&P 500 since they both carry a slightly strong weighting there. But all in all, They had a great run going into their earnings, and I expect them to have pretty much a decent run going into the close of the year. Amazon's hasn't really performed very well this year, but again, we will see that turn around probably around next year. So that's just the nuts and bolts of what's really going to be moving the S&P 500 probably tomorrow.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, Mark, you know, we've talked about wealth, and I feel like this season, the theme of this season really is expanding upon what wealth really is and what it means.
Correct.
So, last Tuesday we had Wealth Talk come outside, right? That was the name of that episode. That was a good episode. I enjoyed it. And as we are expanding upon this topic of wealth, it comes with special announcements.
It does. It does. It does. It comes with the special announcement is, and I'll let Jolynn get into the intro of our esteemed guests for this evening. But huge shout out to the folks over at Aviation as well as the Achievement app. It's pretty much, you'll start seeing it across the board because this show and a few other shows will be sponsored by Achievement. And one of the biggest things is more so in the sense of getting in tune to understanding your health. Health is a major reason as it pertains to understanding why building wealth is important. A lot of folks will literally go forth and work tons of years, whether it's 20 to 40 years, and then they'll never be able to really experience or enjoy their wealth that they had built. And so one of the things that we wanted you to be focused on, not only just in the monetary side, but also how you feel. And getting to understand and making sure that we can start having those conversations where they're less and less taboo. So tonight is probably just the start, but we definitely have to give them a huge shout out because we've never done this before. We've never had an episode that has been sponsored. So shout outs to the team at My Achievement and the parent company, Aviation, for making this happen. So tons of confetti. If we could throw that at the screen. If you would like to, go ahead and throw up some fire or some confetti emojis in the chat because you're going to love our guests, their story, and on top of that, let's get into this wealth talk conversation.
Yes. Oh, all right. Hailing from Georgia, in particular, Stone Mountain, we have a cousin, Calvin Parsons, who is the senior manager of business operations with Evidation. And it's really cool that he took time out of his schedule to be here with us to talk more about this intersection of wealth and health. So without further ado, bring them out.
Let's go. We are here.
How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing good. How are you, brother? How are you?
Outstanding. It's another beautiful day on this earth. And so glad to be here. Glad to be with y'all and have this discussion.
All right. So look, I think that the best way that we should start it off, because I think that, to do it the utmost justice, Brother Calvin, tell the world about this awesome company called Aviation. What are they all about?
Yes, our company is Evidation, and is more specifically what we're talking about is the Achievement app.
That is correct.
It's a cool intersection of the future in healthcare. When you look at what's happened in the history of healthcare, right? Studies, also just people getting focused on wearable devices, patient-generated health data, the ability to track your food, all these different things as utilizing tech tools to support your health. What Evidation brings is the ability to help you do that, but it also brings a scientific data science type ability to it, to where you can take your wearable device, help you check in your mental health, your physical health, capture that. And then also not just to focus on yourself, but to impact your community by tapping into virtual studies, which allows you, if you're outside of a major city center like a Chicago, Philly, Atlanta, Seattle, you have the ability to plug in and help direct the community of your health and ultimately you and your family.
So, I guess the question is, and I'm probably asking, I'm probably gonna ask some questions that I'm probably sure that the folks back at home, why do these things matter? Why should we be, One, why does information collection, especially when it comes to surveys, important, especially in this day and age?
So one, I always start off with the most important thing when it comes to information collection and just sharing of your data is privacy. That is paramount in everything that we do off the top. We ask for consent. We make sure that we keep your data safe, because if your data is not safe, then we can't be viable as a company in supporting you as well as the healthcare community. So that's all the top is privacy, but ultimately information sharing, right? So healthcare medicine is a practice, right? The practice of medicine. And so coming in, somebody can see me and say, hey, you're a 37-year-old Black male. And so you fall in this bucket. Yes and no. I'm a 37-year-old Black male that's lived my experience. And so ultimately, the importance of sharing health information, capturing from all over, depending on where your geolocation is, what your experience is, you can get more refinement and more personalized healthcare by sharing that data, and allow us to focus in. Just for the simple fact, when you look at the Black community, uh, it's not necessarily a part of every single study. Correct. And so what happens for others isn't necessarily the case what happens for Black folks, as well as Hispanic or any other ethnicity or Asian. And so ultimately allows you to personalize your information and share it, and then get more focus and a better refinement for care in the future.
Nice. I'm curious about why health, and in particular, like why the intersection between health and wealth as it pertains to your personal story. Like, why are you so passionate about it?
So for me, why I'm passionate about one, healthcare, and then also wealth is, I'll start with the wealth part, right? That's kind of basic foundation. Coming from Stone Mountain, Georgia, I did pretty well for his family. But my mom told me in 8th grade, you better run fast, jump high, crack a book. You're going to school and I'm not paying for it. Why? Because my family didn't have it. And so ultimately I worked really hard. You can see the swords and the medal in the background. I was fortunate to go to the United States Naval Academy and then served our country for 7 years in the Marine Corps. But at the end of that 7 years, I was burnt out with multiple deployments, my mental health, my physical. I'm very fortunate to still be here with you all, but I also have some physical ailments and other things mentally that were impacted throughout my service. And so as I transitioned out, I had the opportunity. I said, what industry do I know that's going to be there, that's going to be important, that's going to be impactful for my community and my family? And I looked at healthcare. I was tired of breaking things, right? Being in the military, you blow up things and go out and you do the business of the country. And so I wanted to help patch people up and take care of them. So ultimately, I got into the healthcare industry, working for a Fortune 500 company in the medical surgical distribution, then got into small pharma, and now I have the fortunate opportunity to work in the virtual healthcare. I'm a bit of a futurist, and I see digital tools as a way of improving health for all in the future.
Nice.
Go ahead, Jolie, because I got a million. Pretty soon I'm going to geek out. Calvin, I just want to let you know we're going to geek out soon. So
I like what you said about, I think it's interesting when you talk about the business of the country. So as you know, here at the Come Up series, we are in the business of the culture. So with that said, and within that context, talk to us a little bit about what that means to you. Like when it comes to the data and health facts and all that for our people, and the intersection. Again, I'm going to always go back to intersection because I feel like oftentimes we talk about wealth and we talk about health, and they're in these two separate buckets. And I'm interested in melding it all together. And I'll tell you why. The reason why I'm really interested in that is mainly because as we've had all these ups and downs in the market, what I've seen is, in particular for the Come Up Cousins, how that impacted like mental health, whether it was depression, anxiety, feeling lost or unfocused for the future, feeling, this insurmountable like weight, like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake on my in my investing life, and like how that translated to, life, other parts of life. So that's why I really want to know like your experience, your opinion about why we should, how we can, I can't even talk, how we can really be in the business of the culture with this partnership.
Absolutely. So the first being, when you look at just the financial situations of of different households or different ethnicities and their ability to access food, right? You got folks in food deserts. You have folks who don't have great insurance, and so the high deductible plans, and they don't have the ability to access healthcare. And so when you live like that, and you're not live like that, but you're in that situation within your life, when something like a pandemic arises, right? Let alone just making it every day, but when a pandemic rises and we see how it impacts Black and Brown communities, you have a company like ours step in and who's part of understanding that by surveying, by capturing that information and truly showing what's going on in these communities and then highlighting that to the CDC. Because if you don't have the money, right, we talk about government services, we talk about food banks. At the end of the day, you can't expect somebody to be able to eat organic food or eat the cleanest, non-processed food off $4 and $5 a meal. You just can't. And that's what you get from government services. So when you have communities like that are impacted like this, then ultimately nobody's looking at it. And so the healthcare technology that we have, that we bring, helps to highlight that. Also, the intersection of our company and supporting the culture is we've done studies where we've looked at Black women. It's been talked about. Are Black women heard when it comes to healthcare, right? So if you're not heard, but we've done studies to show women aren't cared for, Black women aren't cared for properly, brown women aren't cared for properly because of false narratives in history of pain tolerance or not understanding. And so that's where our company is kind of intersected in to help support that. And so ultimately, if you know where you're at in life, and what we're trying to build is get to that point where we can support somebody no matter where they are, meet them where they are in a healthcare journey, and ultimately support them in the tool of making them understand that health is wealth and wealth is health. They both feed into each other. And so sometimes you got to start on the health side to get after that wealth. And sometimes you got to be on the wealth side and better improve your health so that you can maintain it and pass it on to other generations. Hopefully I didn't stir too far off that question there.
No, you answered it in my opinion.
So I guess the question is, like, you know, we always hear the phrase health is wealth. Like, health is wealth. What does that mean to you?
So what it means to me is, one, being here for my kids. I'm married, I have 2 children. And so part of my wealth is being here for them, to help provide them a good foundation that I received. My parents have some different ailments growing up, right? That diabetes that impacts the Black community. But my mom made choices in life to make sure that she was there for me. My dad made choices in his life to make sure he was there for me to be able to pass on and support and give me the strongest foundation that I can lead from. And so that part of wealth is I can't provide wealth and support my family if I'm not healthy. So that's the first part. A lot of wealth is spent in your last days. If you know, Mark, knowing your story as a cancer survivor, and so like that can bankrupt a family. That can that can harm generational wealth that you were going to pass along because of you trying to fight the fight to still be here. A lot of folks spend the most amount of money in their healthcare in their last days. And so ultimately, if you're able to build up, part of your wealth plan should be having insurance, right? To take care of yourself and carry on to your family if something is to happen to you. And so ultimately, I'm all about being preventative, right? We don't wait till the cars run out of gas before we go, oh, let's put gas in it. Let's take care of our health, right? Let's treat ourselves as the business, right? So you said the business of the culture, Jolene. It's the business of you as a person in your health and their family.
So, in looking to the future, because you know, we got to think. We got to talk future. So, through like apps like Achievement, like really, where do you see us going? Like, because this is just we're at the very, very beginning. This is the genesis. What do you think are some of the things that we can solve? What are some of the problems that we can solve for the future that we can start, literally taking advantage of by using, platforms like Achievement today?
So I'll look at, speaking in financial terms and financing of companies and startups, crowdfunding, right? right? We crowdfund money to get initiatives off the ground. We collect information, we scour the net, we do everything, we build our network so we can get things up off the ground. Same thing with healthcare on a micro and a macro level, right? And so if you have the ability to look at a tool, and we got a lot of things that are all kind of over the place, right? You have things that capture how many steps and what calories and kind of tools here and there to kind of help you manage your life, but it's a bunch of them.
Right.
Now imagine having the ability to take technology and cobble that together, right? And so you're able to take that, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, right? Because when you see the doctor, hopefully you see the doctor at least once a year. And shameless plug, get your checkup, get seen at least once a year. But there's some that go multiple years. You go and you tell doc, I'm living good, I'm living right. Doc sees you one day, but there's 364 other days. What are you doing? How do you capture that? How you truly get that picture of how you're living and what's going on in your life? So that's on a micro level, you're doing that. But then all of a sudden you have a tool that can now use machine learning, AI to tell you, oh, you just had a fall. Like we look at the Apple Watch, right? Oh, you just had a fall detection. That tool kind of helps in usher along if something changes in your health. You're walking funny. Your activity level has gone down. Are you sick? Are there different senses, different things that you put in there that allow you to be preventive and really think, okay, and stop and be mindful of your health. And then ultimately I see the tool of adherence and the ability to say, okay, I go see a doctor. Now, how do I stay on medication? How do I stay on therapy? How do I stay connected to my health and ultimately utilize a tool? And that's why I see the future of technology, right? As a tool to support you and your health and give you the fullest picture possible. That's why I see, at least for our app. And then other technology, I feel we're going to have smart toothbrushes, connected to pharmacies that'll have 3D printers. You'll have your DNA profile. All this information you're able to capture and connect together can give you the most personalized experience you possibly can for you. And so that's my feeling, my view of technology and the future of health.
Dope.
Okay, so getting into some specifics of what we're doing together, as we're in the business for the culture now. We have several amazing cousins who are, I would say, pretty proactive about their health. So my question is, as we embark on this journey, as we're capturing our own data, what are we going to do with that data?
When you say what are we going to do, I guess who is the we? Just for
what can we do? Like, talk to us about like the power of having our own data.
So the power of having your own data, if you're able to go in, for a long time, medicine has been very one directional, right? We go in, we don't know enough. We think right. We say, yeah, doc, we walk 8,000 steps a day. We're not really capturing it. Or we get different directives of what's going on, of how we need to track our health. And we go in and have a conversation with our medical providers. Being able to capture your data now allows you to have a better conversation with that provider, allows you to go and truly measure what's going on in your life so that you can say, I need to make this change, and here's why. This is where that intersection of, okay, what should be happening and what is happening collides. And so ultimately, I think when we take that data on a micro level, that's what you can do. You can make better choices. You can nudge yourself. You can have a better conversation with your healthcare providers to make it more personalized for you. And then ultimately, nudge yourself to better outcomes, right? We all need barometers. We all need measures to tell us what we are and aren't doing, and being honest with ourselves. We really want to achieve our goals. On a macro level with the data, what allows us to do is to have voices heard, right? I understand the Black and brown community, specifically Black folks, being very hesitant about their healthcare and what's happened to them, right? And being part of studies. But if you aren't part of those studies, right, treatments can't be tailored towards your community. So if a treatment standard is for a predominantly white community and a treatment is created, and let's say there's negative implications for those who have sickle cell. Yep. Well, if that's not a significant trait in that community, but you have no Black folks in part of the study or any captured in the data, then that it's lost. That resource that should be there is gone, right? Correct. It's gone. It can't be supported because ultimately it has an adverse effect. And so the sooner you get plugged into that data, the better you can tailor healthcare for all, and also on a macro level, but then also personalize it on a micro level.
So I guess the question that leads us to today, like, because, we have this wonderful partnership. And for those out there that are wanting to know, like, what does that partnership look like? So our goal is to bring voices like Calvin to the stage so that way you can hear it, not only, not from us, but, from people who are within the industry itself, because clearly I'm no subject matter expert on health. But the other thing is more so in the sense that this thing is also to provide a survey to the community, each and every single one of you. And we actually work together in putting together that survey, so that way essentially you can literally take it and be a part of this process and be a part of this program. And on top of that, essentially be a part of something bigger in which that it helps have our voices at the table, have the types of things that go on through our mind, the things that we struggle through, whether it's mental or, say, for example, even health. Even if you're not struggling, just to have those types of pieces there that currently aren't there. Like, that's one of the major pieces when we talk about wealth, and which is going to lead me to my next thing, Calvin, which is that taboo factor. Like, when we talk about, like, one of the things that what we noticed was, especially, our focus is to make certain subjects no longer taboo. Like, one of the first things that we started off with was, building wealth and money. But now let's talk about this other piece. Why do you think that the conversation that surrounds health is so taboo? Right?
I always try to think personally, right? Like how do I think about my health? And what do I do? And I think ultimately the main reason why it becomes taboo is because we don't like ourselves to be checked, right? We want to live the way we want to live, and on a personal level, right? And so doing the right thing to take care of yourself can sometimes seem inconvenient or not as easy as you want it to be, right? And so I think part of it is that, or there's machismo, at least on the male side of, I'm good, I don't need check-in, I don't need this, I'm strong, when actually, especially on the mental health side, it's okay to say you're vulnerable. It's okay to say that you're struggling and you need help. And so ultimately, I think that's why it's taboo. It's it's just something that people don't talk about. Same thing, I take it to another step of kind of when we talk about wealth, right? People don't talk about my money and stuff, don't talk about my health. So if you don't talk about it, you can't fix what you don't talk about. You can't improve what you don't talk about. So if you don't talk about and share tips on how to generate wealth and keep wealth, which I was very fortunate to have a parent that did that, to have a good foundation, then you can't expect that to improve and change. The same thing for healthcare. If you can't talk about what's going on with you mentally, talk about what's going on with you physically, and look for examples of somebody who's worked through those issues, then you can't get there, because you're going to try to do it on your own, or you're going to just be lazy, and humans are naturally lazy, and you're not going to get what you need until it's too late.
Yeah, I will say that it is key, as we're talking about, everything that we talk about is is in the long term. So keyword long term, longevity, and that health, especially for those of us who are feeling like we're low key late to the party. The health is like, your health is one of the most important things you can do in your goal, your mission to increase wealth and what you leave behind, so that as you're doing all this work to create wealth, you will at least be able to enjoy it and see those that come after you enjoy it as well. So that's one. And then also, can we just shout out the cousins that have already taken the survey?
Yes.
I will say that, if you notice, if you were really paying attention, we dropped several hints that we were leading towards this conversation about the intersection of health and wealth.
Yep.
And so shout out to those cousins that already did that. And also an extra bonus for for those cousins, because I know y'all were trying to put these pieces together out here in these little streets. So I see what y'all be searching. I see what y'all be searching, you know, when it comes to trying to find stuff out, you know. So I think that's hilarious. But at the same time, again, that speaks to, you know, being proactive, because we haven't released the we haven't even released the survey yet officially yet, and still there was cousins that were already, you know, with it. So that's amazing.
So let's talk about the My Achievement app, right? Because what is, like, for the cousins out there that would like to know, like, okay, hey, well, one, what is it? Two, how do I use it? And then three, you know, the data that I provide, who has control of this data, and am I safe?
Yeah, so we'll start with the data part. We'll get the technical stuff out.
Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way.
Yeah, let's get the technical stuff out of the way. So ultimately, the first thing that we do when we interact with you within the app is we talk about privacy and consent. And so ultimately, a lot of what we do when we ask for surveys, we do ask for demographic information, but not necessarily personal information to your address or anything like that. We're very, very cognizant about patient health information, PHI. And so, or personal health information, PHI. So ultimately, privacy is the top key initiative, consent. And we will also ask for consent multiple times. We'll ask for the consent up front every time we ask a survey of you or any questions of you. I'll ask for consent there. And ultimately, we tell you what we will and will not share with any of our partners or as part of our studies, which sometimes we do. You know, we do quite a few publications. And we support the community throughout healthcare and informing folks of what we see when it comes to patient-generated health data. And so that's the paramount, most important, is privacy and consent. From there, the Achievement app is a tool to help you measure your mental health, your physical health. And so we oftentimes engage through click-to-reads. So this Sunday is World Psoriasis Day. And so we'll ask a question about, are you diagnosed with psoriasis? And we utilize that information of, if you are, to potentially have you participate in the study later on, or answer more questions to help us capture more real world evidence about that condition. We also celebrate everything from Juneteenth. We just finished celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. So we're constantly tying back to the community, the culture, and your health. We're asking you, hey, are you taking a self-care day? Are you doing this? Here's a recipe that, simple ingredients, but could be a little bit more healthy doing it this way versus that way. So that's kind of our core level foundation of the app, is basically keep you mindful of your mental health and your physical health. And then ultimately, we want you to be active. So we want you to connect. You don't have to have a wearable device, but if you have a Fitbit, if you have an Apple Watch, if you have a Garmin, and we're always an Oura Ring, we're always looking to plug in with other wearable devices. We want you to utilize that so we can track what's going on, help you better understand your activity level, what's happening in your life, and then ultimately feedback insights to you there. And so, when you look at the foundation of it, it's privacy, consent, capturing information for studies, helping you nudge to make better choices in your life. And then ultimately, we'll talk about the last one, because we are on a financial show, right? We are trying to come up. You get points, you get paid. All right. So the more engagement, the more activity you have, you're pushing you for better health.
Say that again, though. Say that again, though, Calvin. I don't think they heard.
Let's pawn that replay back.
Take some steps, answer some questions, connect, engage, work with the community, improve your health, and get paid. Right. So that activity level gets you paid on the core level. And if you're fortunate enough to qualify for some of our studies and some of our real world evidence and market research that's done, there's other ways of getting compensated for that activity there. So it never hurts to be connected and getting paid just to walk around and do your life and live your life the best you can.
I do want to say this. So, I take these kinds of things very seriously, because I'm the kind of person that does not just have my information out there all willy-nilly. Correct. So when we had these, this is just like a little bit of the background, which that I think is important, because when we were first having this conversation about the possibility of what this might look like as far as the survey, I want I want the cousins to know that there was a collaboration with these questions. There were questions that Mark and I felt like, nope, you don't need to know that, or we would ask for further justification. Well, why is this important? Why do you want to know this? And so I really want the cousins to know that this is not just, one of those partnerships where there's a company that comes in and says, hey, do this survey, and then they take all the data. I want you to know that there have been cousins at every single step of this process, because we have big plans. Yes, this is the survey today. And once we have data, we have other plans for what that might look like in the future. And obviously this is all voluntary, right? We're asking you to contribute to this community effort so that we know as a community what are the things that we're dealing with as far as our health and our mental health, especially in the context of financial wealth building. And so I want you all to know that this is important to Mark and I personally, because of the things that we have gone through and the things that we have seen in our family as it relates to health. And we already know Mark's story about that. And it is important. We cannot have not one more young Black man being diagnosed with cancer in their 30s. That makes no sense. And so if we're going to really think about this wealth life and what we're doing, we have to incorporate health. We have to know that data, because all these studies, all of these, policies, they're not built around us. Why? Because that data is not captured anywhere. So when we have the ability to know what that data is ahead of time, we can start advocating for different health related policies that will not only benefit us today, that will benefit the generations after us that we're working to serve right now. So again, I just, the link will be placed in several different places all over the place, but I cannot stress how important it is that not only that we all take the survey, Mark and I will also be taking the survey, obviously, but that we know what the makeup is of our cousins, and not just from a financial standpoint. So
yeah, and the interesting thing to also place there is, like, for those of you that that know my story, but for those of you that don't, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2 around the same time that I was bringing a startup into fruition. And mind you, like, the startup world and me trading was like really my beginning to my wealth journey, and it got halted. It literally got halted. But I'm so glad that I made that decision to, one, when I noticed that something was not right, that I made the decision to literally go get checked. And then two, good is having the wealth. What good is having the wealth if you're never around to live, to experience, and enjoy what you have built? A lot of people that have come before have amassed wealth and have worked themselves all the way to the bone. And by the time when they're ready to, like, literally enjoy the fruits of their labor, they're no longer here on this earth. And that's something in which that it's scary, and at the same token it's very frustrating, because of the fact that if you work hard and if you do all these things, then you should also be able to enjoy what you have built and what you have worked for. And so this is just the very, very beginning as it pertains to just having those discussions, because I trace my success back to, remember where I said success is traceable? A part of me tracing my success back to is literally going all the way back to that time when, hey, I made this decision. Hey, I got to take 30 to 60 days away from, like, literally grit and grind of making a startup come to fruition, and literally sitting it out and, like, literally taking care of my health. Like, it's those types of things in which that we got to look at and say, what's more worth it? Is it being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, or essentially, like, a lot of folks say, well, hey, I work hard so that way my children will enjoy it. But wouldn't it be even doper if, say, for example, they're able to enjoy it with you? So that's the point there. that we wanted to really, really drive home, and the reason why this, in just the very beginning phases, just sometimes just the start of a survey really gets things going. This is not a sales pitch or anything like that. Again, voluntary. If you choose to do it, great. If not, hey, that's okay. Great. But, you know, we wanted to put it out there because we would be doing each and every single one of you a disservice if we knew this information and we didn't share it with you.
Yeah. And I'm always, on all the cousins about having their walkaway date set. And, I do that because it is important to know those dates. And I also hold myself to that same standard. So don't think that, I'm just out here, harping on y'all. Like, I know that September 19th, 2008 was the day that I chose and prioritized my health, AKA I walked away from, my life as a prosecuting attorney because of the amount of, stress that I was enduring and all that. And some of you know that story, but anyway, the point of all that is like, when September 19, 2008 comes around, it reminds me of how that choice that I made. And that date has set up the trajectory of my entire life. Could you even imagine? I shudder at the thought that if Mark didn't decide to take care of his health right then in that situation, like none of these paths would have crossed, none of them.
Yep.
That is wild to me when I think about that, like, oh my goodness. So Mark, I'm going to just, I commend you, especially as a Black man, a young Black man, for not having like, the ego or even the fear and being courageous when it came to taking care of your health, not just for yourself, but, as it relates to your family.
Oh, so, I was scared. No, let's not get
I know you were scared.
I was shook. Scared,
but you still had the courage to do it though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary.
Yeah.
To be that young and to face that is very scary. So again, I just acknowledge you for that forethought, and thinking about your own legacy in that way.
Yeah, thank you. So as we're coming close to the end because we don't want to take.
And we do have some questions.
You like 3 hours ahead, and they're not going to let me go away without questions, Calvin. So, is there anything else that you would like to leave with folks? Like, is there anything else that you would like to share? And feel free to, stay on stage with us. And while I guess I'm going to be, questioned, but is there anything else that you would like to leave with the people? Any part of your story or your journey?
Yeah, so just to kind of finally wrap it up is like the reason why I joined Evidation is because I truly believe this is the future of healthcare. And it wasn't just for like my health, but like I said, the health of my community. I think with partnerships like this, and supporting underrepresented populations within healthcare, underserved populations, I think technology is the future of all that. Most of us have cell phones, so plug in. It's cool to scroll through social media. It's cool to do all that kind of stuff, but let's do something for ourselves. I'm a firm believer, and I want I'm gonna build all this stuff up to live a long time to enjoy it, right? I want to go broke in retirement. I'm not gonna go broke in retirement, but I want to use it all up. I don't want to build it up and just leave it, right? I want to use it up and enjoy life and leave this earth, at 100 years plus old. So join the health journey. I feel achievement is a way to do that. But if you don't feel like achievement is, plug in on your health, check on each other, take care of each other, and take care of yourself so that we can continue to build as a culture. I'll stay on stage and listen because I've been learning. I was, felt like I was back in the classroom with my MBA when y'all started talking about the treasury yield, and I said, "Oh boy," so I started having moments right there. So appreciate it.
Hilarious.
Let's do it. Let's rock, Jolynn.
Are you ready for these questions?
Hold up.
Oh wait, I haven't. Y'all, everyone, take us some water. Calvin, I hope you have some water.
Stay hydrated, my friends.
The glow doesn't just happen on its own. Okay, so now for questions, we have several questions. I'm just going to try and get through the ones that have not been asked or answered yet.
Okay.
Okay, so here's a question: Apple versus Facebook in the meta world race. Who wins?
Oh gosh. Too soon to call, but I think that you can't have Facebook without an Apple because you need a device. unless Facebook's devices, pretty much through their VR technology is so dope that essentially you don't need mobile devices anymore. But even then, you got Apple coming through pretty soon in that same sphere and same space. So honestly, I give the edge right now to Apple, but as it pertains to platform, I give the edge to Facebook. So it's very neck and neck, but so far you can't have Facebook without some type of device. And essentially, since they're not making every single one of the devices that have Facebook's platform on it, unless Metaverse is going to be something completely different, I have to give the edge to Apple.
Okay, Calvin, do you have an Apple Watch? Or are you a Fitbit person? You have an Apple Watch?
Apple Watch. Yeah. Used to have a Fitbit, but phone connected. Once again, got me.
No Team Green.
Okay. So let's talk about, since finances, let's talk about fintech right quick. Okay. How do you feel about the Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal selling? Because Visa dropped.
Visa did drop like a rock, and a lot of folks are going to point towards some of the antitrust conversations that we're hearing as it pertains to fintech. I don't think that that's it, because honestly, it's like I think that Visa dropped and the rest of fintech dropped was because of the fact that the earnings were, one, mixed as it pertains to like results, and then two, the fact that Visa's guidance was kind of terrible. So it wasn't up, and what I mean by kind of terrible, it didn't meet to the expectations of what Wall Street was expecting. And anytime when you don't meet those expectations when it comes to forward guidance, then that can ultimately that can also send shockwaves to the stock. So that, alongside with maybe a multitude of different issues, but I think it was really the guidance part. I think that that's what drove Visa stock down. I think that when it comes to Square, I think that Square also dropped as we saw. I think we saw a slight little flash crash within cryptocurrency earlier today. So I think that that's also probably indicative of it. And in any business that's looking to go inside cryptocurrency, they're going to be now volatile because of the fact that as those asset or commodity classes start to go in their violent swings in volatility, then they will also have to eat some of that volatility as well. It's like volatility is like the server of a pie that's like, hey, I have slices for everybody, and we all eat at the same time.
What's funny to me is, that Wall Street, and their audacity, like to have the audacity to say, y'all didn't meet our expectations. They're not even in the company, they're just out here, pontificating upon, what this company should do and not do. And then when expectations don't meet, it impacts the entire stock price. So I think that's hilarious. But at the same time, if these companies are out here giving weak guidance, then as an investor, you would not want to invest. So those that are in there will sell off. So yes, we have that. Okay, so we have another question. Money is clearly being taken out of Amazon and Apple, but where is it going?
I don't know. I mean, because if you look at the volume that was taken out of those stocks in the aftermarket, it wasn't really something very significant. You won't know until maybe tomorrow's open and during the early ticker or during the early tape time of the stock openings, where you see the volume. And if you're seeing it at large quantities of volume, I would say be sure to watch what happens within Chinese, or not Chinese, but Asia markets, as well as, because I was going to say Hong Kong, but Asia markets as well as European markets, and see exactly how those things play out. Because then that can also add a little bit more to the volatility going into the open of tomorrow's opening ticker. But for the most part, I don't really see anything huge here. I think it was honestly something in which that some folks were expecting that of the effect of, due to supply chain and logistics issues, that ultimately the Apple was going to be indicative of that, and also due to some of those same supply chain and logistics issues, that Amazon would also be indicative of that due to third-party sellers. So with those things in mind, if you look at the rest of the tape, services business, growth. If you look at some of its other arenas, growth. I think the major part was exactly within the iPhone sales where they didn't have enough inventory there. The biggest question is going to be, okay, hey, looking at MacBooks and also looking at iPhone SE2, which is even a much more huge market because you're looking at places of like China, Asia, even some places even in South Korea, though that's in Samsung's backyard, and LG's. But it lets you know that there's other things coming down the pipeline, and it just was that at this time it wasn't that strong. So perspective.
Okay, switching gears slightly. This is more so about like portfolio How much liquidity, as in a number, should you have before getting to scale plays?
How much liquidity should you have? Are we talking about liquidity plays, or are we just talking about liquidity as well? I'll just assume that the person's saying as it pertains to liquidity within your portfolio. So ultimately, here's the thing: liquidity should be the majority of your portfolio. I mean, essentially, it's like you don't want to play risky Roger within your overall portfolio. I mean, I think that if you talk to any financial advisor or anybody that's a fiduciary, they would say the same thing. If you are looking for a little bit of that risk, because that's what scale and leverage plays are, they bring on a little bit more risk to your table. You would probably make that, if we're talking about portfolio management, you would probably make that the minority of your portfolio. So, for example, let's give you a percentage of, if you have 100% of the pie, 80% of that would be liquidity. Like, for example, safer plays that ultimately just continue to do what they're supposed to do, which is just print money over a period of time. And then your scale and liquidity and your scale and leverage plays would be about that other 20%, or if you want to be even safer, make 90% of the portfolio, say for example, within that liquidity, and then 10% you split between leverage and scale plays, so they both share 5% each. That would be what smart money would do.
And I'll just add that with my own personal experience, I found that as far as liquidity goes, having the number, I've found that when I was first investing back in, what was that, 2018? Yeah, 2018 is when I started. November 26th.
Just got to bring it back
Yeah,
up.
see, I've been knowing dates, y'all. Dates. Okay, so I realized, like, I saw that I was in the position to leverage and then ultimately scale once I hit that gateway number of 6 figures, so 100K. Once I reached 100K, because remember I started with a little under 10,000 when I first started out, y'all. So when I got to the 100K, then I started seeing what liquidity could do. And you already know my favorite liquidity bucket, so to speak, the parents, XLK and XLY. 2023, and soon it will be 2024. I'm not in 2024s yet because my 2023s are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So anyway, so that is key, having the focus on that number. Now, if you're already on that number, then again, follow the allocation that Mark just so eloquently put out there for y'all. Okay, let me see. And okay, do you prefer to roll over your 2-year contracts when new ones come out, or wait a few weeks / months?
So I don't do it based upon that. When I'm rolling over, I'm sticking to the schedule of, say, for example, whatever my portfolio plan is. So if my trading plan, if I'm in a 2-year play, and if I'm playing that one from anywhere from a year to a year and a half, then I'm going to stick to that plan. Outside of that, it's like it doesn't matter if there's a quadruple witching event, which triggers, say, for example, new contracts that come out. Don't care about that. If I have the cash on the sideline that can ultimately automatically get into those, then so be it, I'll do that. But for the most part, I'm going to stick to my plan.
Yeah. And, as I said just a moment ago, I'm not in 2024s yet. My 2023s are still doing their work. And I probably won't roll my 2023s until sometime in 2022, quite frankly. And that's based on the goals that I've set within my portfolio. And again, you, as in whoever's portfolio it is, you are the expert of your portfolio. So you know what you need to do and what you're working on, and the things that matter most to you. So
correct. And I think the thing is like, it's a difference between being like, you want to be strategic, not reactionary.
Exactly.
Like when you're setting up your trading plan, you're very strategic and you're following a very strategic plan. Now, of course, variable change comes through, and you sometimes may have to be reactionary depending on the times, because the sands of time can always change. But for the most part, you should have something that gives you that, where you're anchored within a strategy, where you strategically set forth a plan as it pertains to how is it that your money is going to move. So it's like, you don't just jump into things just because of the fact that you see them available. That's reactionary. If it's a part of your plan where you said, okay, hey, when these things become readily, immediately available, and if the price target and if the percentage targets are where I expect them to be for the stock, then I may go for it. But if not, if it's not a part of your plan, then don't just deviate from the plan just because of the fact that you see the shiniest new thing available.
Facts all day. So, we're 3 minutes over.
Oh.
And, I have to eat dinner. So my question, or actually, no, I won't have any more questions. We answered most of the questions. I would say 97% of the questions were answered.
That's a good percentage. I like that.
Context of the show. So,
nice trailing stop that you put there.
Yes. So with all that said, where can the cousins take the survey?
So, one, the link is in the description down below, but also, Calvin, is there anything else that you would like to provide as it pertains to information on that? Or
yeah, if you go into the App Store, look achievement reward health. Once again, achievement reward health. It's in Google Play as well as Apple App Store. Go there. You'll be able to plug into the achievement app. You'll find that survey there, which is the mental health and wellness survey. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have that. But then you'll also have a ton of other products within. You can check out the app. You can also answer the survey and get best of both worlds. And then hopefully you plug in, stay in the community, take care of your healthcare, take care of your health. And then I'm gonna be following this show a lot more as it is. Quick shameless plug before I left out. My first investment was in 2008 in the summertime before everything crashed. I was in Afghanistan freaking out because my mutual fund was down like negative $3,000, and I thought I owed people money. Ooh. So plug in, learn from here. It's great. By the way, I doubled down, right? So when I was way down, I bought it at 35 and I was down to like $10 and I dropped like another 3K in because I had it. And yeah, it's way off. So
to the moon today.
Plug in, be thing, and take care of your health.
Stay in those trenches, brother.
It's all about conviction. It's all about conviction.
Right.
Y'all, thank you so much for rocking with us. Calvin, thank you so much for rocking the stage with us. You're welcome back at any time. Jolynn, you always know the vibe, sis. Until next time, I'm Mark Monroe, and I'm accompanied by... Who's our guest
Calvin.
today?
Calvin Parsons. Y'all take care.
Wait, do we make him honorary? We gotta get...
Okay, we can talk about this.
We gotta talk about this real quick. We gotta talk about this real quick. Calvin.
Oh, yeah. We have this tradition.
Yeah. We have a tradition.
We'll have a guest on the show. You got to say what cousin you are. So, for example, if you were at like a family function, you were like, oh, that's the cousin that, X, Y, and Z. So, which cousin are you, Calvin?
C Love, cousin C Love.
Oh.
Cousin C Love. Okay.
Cousin C Love.
Okay.
I spread the love. So C Love. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Well, until next
time.
I
didn't say.
Oh, okay. Well.
Let me take a sip because y'all, you playing with my outro now. I'm just messing with you. Y'all, I'm jolyngc, feeling quite healthy.
Hey! And this was a Wealth Talk, aka Your Come Up. We will see y'all next Tuesday. Be blessed, be kind, keep researching, keep learning, because the more you learn, the more you earn. We will see y'all next week. Peace, y'all.